These animals typically inhabit areas several hundred kilometers away in the Arctic. The polar bear's story was quite intriguing. One day, while hunting, the ice sheet it was on broke away from the mainland. The bear likely attempted to return to land, but found itself surrounded by icy waters, unable to take the risk. This marked the beginning of a life-changing adventure for the young predator. After days, or perhaps weeks, of drifting, it arrived in a foreign land, vastly different from its own. The bear was now an impressive 450 miles, 700 kilometers, from home. When it reached the village and stopped on the shore, its primary thought was food. Despite its efforts, finding sustenance proved fruitless. This unfamiliar territory was not only warm, but also lacked suitable food sources. Initially, the bear avoided approaching the village, its sharp hearing picking up the distant sounds of daily life. Typically, its kin would steer clear of human settlements, but hunger and exhaustion drove it closer. It spotted a nearby building and moved toward it, unaware that it was a rural police station. Weak and fatigued from its journey, the bear lay down, with a sad, pleading expression, as if silently asking for help. It didn't take long for the local police to notice the unusual visitor. One officer raised the alarm, prompting two others to come and investigate the situation. The polar bear was huge, with white fur and clearly visible sharp claws. Of course, they were very afraid to come closer. The police approached carefully to get a better look at the animal, but kept their distance so as not to scare it. Concerned police were shocked when they finally found out what kind of animal it was. There, in the snow, lay a large and menacing young polar bear that had mysteriously landed in their small village. They couldn't believe their eyes, but they also realized that something was wrong with their unexpected guest. The animal appears to have suffered a serious injury to its front paw. The polar bear lay miserably, clutching his wounded paw to his body. The police felt sorry for the animal and were determined to help the ear. They contacted local wildlife authorities. Those in charge were surprised when they heard about the unusual case and set off as quickly as possible. They took care of the polar bear's paw and made sure it could rest. Umka, as the locals soon began to call the bear, became something of a celebrity in the village. The villagers brought him a lot of fish and delicacies every day. Although Umka ate only a little, it was clear that the bear wanted to go home. Although he appreciated the kindness of people, the bear became a sensation, even attracting guests from the surrounding villages. The officers kept a close eye on the bear, making sure no one got too close as they considered their final decision. Experts were consulted, and they came to the conclusion that Umka has no chance of surviving in Kamchatka, and he urgently needs to return to his homeland. But how can they do this? The animal was so disoriented that it could never find its way back on its own. And even if the polar bear knew the way, the journey would be unreasonable for the animal, and it would not make it. The situation seemed hopeless. The head of the State Hunting Supervision Department of the Regional Agency for Forestry and Wildlife Protection, Vladimir Gordienko, explained that Umka is not an isolated case. Polar bears are sometimes washed away from their home on ice floes when ice sheets suddenly break away from the mainland. Unfortunately, they usually cannot return to their homeland or find food in a new environment. Therefore, for guests like Umka, it is very likely that they will die after this forced relocation. However, people did not want to allow this. They had to find a way to help the polar bears. News of the unusual visitor spread quickly, and many watched with interest as his situation unfolded. In a matter of days, measures were taken to return the predator to the Arctic, where its real home was located. The office of the regional governor, Vladimir Ilyukin, asked the Minister of Emergency Situations, Evgeny Zinichev, to provide a helicopter to return Umka to its polar habitat. In addition, a special transport cage was made for the animal, said Kamchatka official Sergei Khabarov. 8 days after his arrival, the Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations organized an air rescue operation to bring Umka back to the icy Arctic. Such a maneuver had never happened before, and therefore became a major challenge for everyone involved. However, people were determined to carry out a rescue operation. Upon arrival in Kamchatka, specialists temporarily tranquilized the bear so that it could survive the flight. Kamchatka wildlife consultant Alexander Zelnitsyn reported that Umka is healthy and well fed. The anesthetized animal was then placed in a specially made cage and loaded into a helicopter. The villagers applauded as the officials left with Umka, but no one could have predicted what would happen during the flight. It had been a long journey, and the crew members were tense when suddenly something completely unexpected happened. They heard a noise in the cage. The polar bear woke up. Everyone was on guard. They did not want to frighten the animal with sudden movements. Concern among the crew was high as they feared the animal might try to destroy the cage or shake the Mi-8 helicopter on the 700-kilometer flight. This could have jeopardized the entire mission and endangered the lives of everyone on board. Luckily, the bear seemed to understand that people wanted to help him. To everyone's delight, he remained calmly in his cage, watching them with his dark eyes. He was conscious during the flight, but did not shake the cage. A representative of the government of the Kamchatka territory told the press. It was loud, and Umka was scared but remained calm. He was such a brave bear. The flight went smoothly until they reached their destination where he was to be released. Having landed, they opened the cage door, and Umka was asked to get out. The bear hesitated for a moment and then ran off into the desert. The mission was a great success, and Umka finally returned to his usual home.